Man, that's weird.
Holy shit, they are trying to replace JD Vance with Erika Kirk. Because Erika Kirk and JD Vance is their Christian nationalist wet dream. And you won't convince me otherwise. What is this? What is this body language? When did we start putting our hands up in the hair of our friends when we hug? Yeah, no, you don't. This is weird.
The moment Erika Kirk wrapped her arms around JD Vance on stage, people froze, not because it was a warm introduction, but because it looked far more personal than anyone expected. Within hours, photos of their embrace were circulating online, and what started as a simple event appearance quickly turned into a wave of speculation about the nature of their connection.
After reviewing the footage of Erika Kirk with JD Vance, it deadass feels like a MAGA fanfic. Like, Erika Kirk, the way she speaks about that man is the way that my best friends in middle school would talk about Harry Styles. Like, there are sparkles in her eyes. I've never in my life been like, there's a spark. They're fucking. Fucking awesome. TikTok algorithm, please don't make this ineligible for recommendation like you do with all my videos. I have to peel every single time and then you approve it for no reason. Like, it's like ordinary girl just happens to get caught up with some Trump pageantry and shot right up to the top. And then tragedy leads to romance. I can't believe any of those words just came out of my mouth and formed sentences, and I sincerely apologize. Dude, the way they're hugging, it's giving my mom just sold me to One Direction. Dude, this is more public display of affection than when Laura Boebert or whatever was like publicly getting her boobs felt up in the movie theater or whatever the fuck, wherever she was. Like, that was bad. This is like, like you're sleeping together.
The tone of Erika's introduction, the way she spoke about JD with such warmth, and the closeness between them didn't feel like a routine public interaction. To many viewers, it came across like a moment we weren't supposed to notice, almost like a soft reveal of an emotional bond happening right in front of the cameras. Before we break down the timeline, the photos, the body language, and the theories, let's go back to the moment that put everyone on alert. It all began when Erika Kirk took the stage to introduce JD Vance at a major public event. Now, introductions are usually simple, polite, and professional, but this one felt noticeably different. Erika spoke about JD with a warmth and admiration that people described as almost intimate.
No one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to introduce him tonight. JD Vance.
The tone wasn't colleague praising a colleague. It sounded closer to someone describing a person they deeply admire on a personal level. What truly shifted the energy in the room was when Erika compared JD to her late husband, Charlie Kirk, who had only recently passed.
Holy shit, they are trying to replace JD Vance with Erika Kirk. Because Erika Kirk and JD Vance is their Christian nationalist wet dream. And you won't convince me otherwise. What is this? What is this body language? When did we start putting our hands up in the hair of our friends when we hug? Yeah, no, you don't. This is weird. Oh, and then there's this one. JD, why are your hands so low? There's no reason for them to be on her hips, but there they are. But if that's not enough, here is her introducing him at Turning Point.
I am tremendously blessed and honored tonight to be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend and his wife. They are incredible. And I see no one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do.
And if you're not convinced yet that they're trying to replace her with Erika Kirk, this is him when asked by a student about him and his wife's difference in like their religious beliefs, and he ends it with this.
Do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way.
He wants her to fall in line. He wants her to be a Christian nationalist just like him. And if he can't convince her, he'll find a new one.
She said there were similarities between the two men, and that alone made viewers stop and replay the clip. Many felt the comparison was unusually emotional, especially considering how fresh her loss was. It wasn't the kind of comment most would make lightly, but the moment that really set social media ablaze happened right after the speech. When JD joined her on stage, the two shared an embrace that didn't look like a formal greeting. JD's hand rested around her waist, and Erika leaned in with a closeness that instantly caught the audience's attention. It wasn't inappropriate on its face, but something about it didn't match the usual body language of two public figures interacting on stage.
What in the actual hell is really going on here? I mean, are we really not supposed to question this or this? While the technocrats put the finishing touches on the digital surveillance and enslavement grid, which is gearing up to chip, track, trace, manipulate, control, and tax every birth, breath, and movement, TPUSA and their geo-tracking partners continue to herd the sheep down the chute to the slaughterhouse. And lest you think differently, girly dames with coif hair and dangling crosses can lead just as many people to the gates of tyranny as any foul-mouthed, blue-haired liberal with a nose ring.
And that subtle moment, the warmth in her voice, the comparison to her late husband, and that embrace was all it took for the internet to start asking questions. Soft tease. But if that moment raised eyebrows, the photos that surfaced afterward completely changed the conversation. What really escalated the conversation were the photos that began circulating online after the event. These weren't blurry, taken out of context shots. They were clear images showing Erika and JD in moments that many felt went far beyond professional courtesy. In one photo, JD is seen holding Erika by the waist, guiding her with a level of familiarity that immediately caught attention. In another, Erika leans into him with her head tilted in a way that looked gentle, almost tender. The kind of body language people usually associate with emotional closeness, not a public stage interaction. What made these images hit harder is the timing. All of this happened just a few months after Charlie Kirk's passing. People expected Erika to still be in a period of private mourning, supported by close family and friends, not sharing what looked like a warm, emotionally charged moment with another prominent man in the spotlight.
So, does anyone else think JD Vance's first wife, Usha, might be looking for an exit plan right about now? I mean, it's bad enough that she's married to a guy who went on national TV and said it's totally fine for Americans to want to live next to people who are just like them and speak the same language. Then, she has to sit back and watch him all over Erika Kirk, who, let's be real, looks like she's trying to lock down another famous guy. But it doesn't stop there. JD Vance literally goes on stage and shames his wife for not being Christian, saying he hopes she'll convert and find the right path. As if that's not enough, he also ties immigration to assimilation, which, if you know anything about Usha's upbringing in a traditional Hindu immigrant family, makes this whole situation extra awkward. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine many women would be cool with their husband talking about them like that in public and then getting all touchy-feely with another recently widowed woman in front of everyone. That's just, wow.
For many viewers, it felt too soon, and that's exactly what fueled the speculation. Online discussions compared the photos to celebrity award show moments where two co-stars suddenly spark dating rumors after appearing a little too comfortable on the red carpet.
Internet has lost their doggone mind. And I understand, I can see why they're freaking out. For example, people are sitting here going, what's up? What's going on? What's going on with Vice President JD Vance embracing Erika Kirk? The way that they embrace is weird, yo. It's a little weird, okay? As, you know, if you are a person that is taken, all right, spoken for, you got a relationship, you are in a monogamous relationship with somebody, not like something that's open or nothing, all right? Whether you are married or you are going steady with somebody, yes, that's an old school word, but whether or not you are steady or married with somebody, hugging another person that is not your spouse or partner like this is very weird, okay? I said it in my short, okay? Like, you know, when you're hugging somebody and they ain't your girl, fellas, I'm just talking to the fellas for a second, okay? When you're talking and saying hello to somebody that you know, all right? And sure, you might be close to them to a certain extent, and they happen to be a member of the opposite sex, and they are not your wife or your partner. Usually you're doing the hug with the butt out. You know what I mean? You're doing the lean and you're like, hi, or it's the side hug. You know what I mean? Hey, how you doing? What's up? What's good? You know, those are kosher moves. You don't see this. Okay? Unless the fella's being hugged by his own mama. Okay? Or a sister. And in fact, when you're getting hugged by your sister like this, you at a funeral. Okay? Or you gave them a whole bunch of monies and they're like, oh my God, I can finally pay rent and feed my kids. Thank you, big brother. Big old embrace, right? You just saved the day, right? You're not hugging your own sister this way. Maybe your mama, but your sister, you're hugging because you just lost somebody you love. It's funeral time. You feel me? So when you see something like this is weird.
It had that same energy, subtle enough to deny, but noticeable enough for the internet to latch onto. And once those images started spreading, the narrative shifted. It was no longer just a touching intro. People began suggesting that what we saw wasn't a one-time emotional moment, but possibly signs of a deeper connection. But the photos were only the first layer, because when people went back to study the timeline, things got even more eyebrow-raising. Once the photos began spreading, viewers started doing what the internet does best, connecting dots. And when people laid out the timeline, that's when the whispers turned into full-on theories. Charlie Kirk's passing was still fresh in everyone's minds. It hadn't even been a year, it had only been a few months. During that stage, most widows are either avoiding the spotlight or showing up with strong family support. So seeing Erika not only back on stage, but sharing what looked like a deeply warm moment with JD, made people pause. It wasn't just that she was smiling again, it was who she was smiling with and how. Some viewers pointed out that Erika and JD didn't look like two people simply bonded by grief. The comfort level, the closeness, the ease of physical touch. It felt like familiarity, not formality. For many, the timing made the interaction feel less like an emotional slip and more like a connection that had been forming quietly for a while. Comments began circulating saying things like, "This doesn't look like a new bond. This looks like a bond we're just now seeing." Others compared it to celebrity rebound relationships that fans later learned had started before the breakup or loss. And while no one can confirm that here, the timing created space for speculation, because if this is how they act in public, just months after a tragedy, viewers couldn't help but wonder what the dynamic looked like behind the scenes. And as people started revisiting past clips, older photos, and subtle interactions between Erika and JD, a new question emerged online. Was this moment really spontaneous, or simply the first time the public noticed what had been brewing for months? But that wasn't the only clue people pointed to, because even JD's own personal comments added fuel to the suspicion. As the speculation grew, people began revisiting some of JD Vance's recent public comments, and that's when another layer of curiosity formed. Not long before the event with Erika, JD made statements about his own marriage that many found unusual. He spoke openly about wishing his wife would change her religion for him, and the way he phrased it left some viewers with the impression that there may be a disconnect or strain at home. Normally, when public figures talk about their partners, especially after many years together, it comes with warmth, affection, or at least a sense of unity. But JD's comments felt more like a critique, like something was missing, or like he wanted his wife to fit a mold she wasn't comfortable with. It wasn't said with malice, but it didn't sound like the kind of thing a deeply connected spouse would broadcast publicly either. So when people replayed that Kapak moment with Erika through the lens of these comments, a theory began circulating. Was JD experiencing an emotional void at home, and did Erika become the person he felt understood by? Suddenly, those tender photos weren't just being analyzed as a moment of comfort. They were being viewed as potential signs of an emotional bond forming where a romantic partnership might have drifted. The narrative online shifted from too soon to something far more intriguing. Was this a one-time slip, or the public glimpse of a deeper connection JD wasn't finding in his own marriage? And if that angle raised questions, the rumors that surfaced next turned the situation from curiosity into full-on tea. Once the moment went viral, social media did what it always does. It started digging. And this is where the situation shifted from a single questionable interaction to a pattern people claimed they had noticed long before the public caught on. Users on TikTok, X, and Instagram began posting screenshots, clips, and side-by-side comparisons suggesting that the chemistry between Erika and JD wasn't new at all. People resurfaced older footage from past events where the two appeared on the same stage or in group settings. And suddenly, viewers began commenting on small glances, shared smiles, and hallway interactions that seemed a little too comfortable for two married people who weren't married to each other. Some online threads claimed that insiders had noticed Erika and JD interacting with an ease that went beyond professional acquaintances. One viral comment read, "You don't develop that level of comfort in a few weeks. That's history." Others pointed out that even before Charlie's passing, a few fans had left playful comments like, "They'd make a cute couple," under past photos, comments that now felt very different in hindsight. And while none of this proves anything, it was enough to feed the idea that what we saw at the event wasn't an isolated moment, but possibly the first time the public couldn't ignore the chemistry anymore. What made the online speculation even more intense is that neither Erika nor JD addressed the viral photos. No quick clarification, no lighthearted denial, not even a people are reaching moment. The silence itself became part of the story, because when public figures don't shut down a rumor that spreads this fast, people tend to assume there's a reason. But if the whispers and resurfaced clips kept the rumor alive, what came next is what truly made this feel like a celebrity-style scandal, because people began calling out a major double standard. As the conversation grew, people began pointing out something that pushed this topic beyond simple gossip, the double standard. Because if this exact moment had involved any other public figures, especially ones known for being image-conscious, the reaction would have looked very different. Online commenters compared it to when celebrities who brand themselves as family first, devoted spouse, or traditional values end up in situations that don't reflect the image they promote. Think of when a Hollywood couple publicly preaches loyalty, but then one of them is seen getting a little too cozy with a co-star. The internet never lets it slide. That's what made this moment with Erika and JD hit harder for viewers. To many, the embrace, the warmth, the emotional tone of the introduction, paired with how soon it was after Charlie's passing, didn't match the image people assumed Erika would show publicly. It wasn't just the hug itself. It was the silence around it. No clarifications, no statement, no gentle boundary setting like, it was a grief moment, nothing more. The quiet response made some feel like the public was expected to ignore what they saw with their own eyes. And we all know how that goes. The fastest way to make the internet obsessed with something is to pretend it doesn't exist. To viewers, the lack of acknowledgement almost felt like when celebrities get caught in compromising paparazzi photos and choose the no comment route, hoping it fades. But instead, that silence usually makes the story grow legs. Which is exactly what happened here, because from double standards, the conversation shifted into a much bigger question. What if this moment wasn't accidental at all, but the beginning of a new public narrative being soft-launched? As more people revisited past clips, photos, and interactions, the conversation slowly shifted from maybe it was just a warm moment to something much more intriguing. Viewers began asking a very simple question: how many coincidences have to line up before it stops looking like coincidence? Because when you step back and look at the bigger picture, the situation feels less like a one-off moment and more like a pattern that's been quietly building in plain sight. First, there's the timing. Erika's closeness with JD didn't surface a year later, after she'd healed or stepped away from the spotlight. It appeared just months after her husband's passing, at a moment when most people would still be guarded, private, and surrounded only by their inner circle. Yet somehow, JD wasn't just present, he was comfortably present. Then there's the comfort level between them. That kind of ease, the soft smiles, the natural touch, the way their energy synced, isn't something most people develop suddenly, especially on stage, under lights, with cameras rolling. To viewers, it didn't feel like the first time anything slipped. It felt like the first time the public noticed. And finally, there's the reaction. or more accurately, the lack of one. Neither Erika nor JD offered a light clarification, a quick "people are reading too much into this," or even a subtle boundary-setting post. That silence left space for interpretation, and the internet filled it. None of this confirms anything. But when the timing, the closeness, and the silence all line up a little too neatly, people can't help but wonder if this moment was truly spontaneous, or simply the first glimpse into a chapter that had quietly begun long before. And that leads us to the part no one can agree on, the takeaway. Because depending on how you see the events, this story can look very different. When you look at everything together, the emotional introduction, the intimate photos, the timing so soon after Charlie's passing, the comfort that didn't feel new, and the silence that followed, it's easy to understand why this moment became a talking point. It had all the elements that usually spark a celebrity-style whisper chain: warmth, timing, subtle chemistry, and just enough mystery to keep people guessing. But here's the part that makes this story so fascinating. Everyone who watched that moment seemed to interpret it differently. Some saw a genuine moment of shared grief. Others saw emotional support taken too far. And some believe it was a soft launch of a new chapter that the public wasn't meant to notice, at least, not yet. In situations like this, there isn't always one clear truth. Sometimes, what people see says as much about the audience as it does about the individuals involved. Did we witness a grieving widow finding comfort in a trusted friend? Or did the cameras capture the early glow of an emotional bond the public wasn't prepared for? So now, I'm curious, after hearing the timeline, seeing how the moment unfolded, and considering how everything aligns. What's your take on this? Was it innocent warmth during a difficult time? A connection that grew quietly behind the scenes? Or the subtle start of something more? Drop your thoughts below, and be honest. Because no matter which angle you lean toward, one thing is certain: this moment has changed the way people see Erika and JD together, and it's a story no one is forgetting anytime soon.